The writing classroom is an environment that naturally lends itself to student-centered and bridge-building pedagogical strategies. Effective writing instruction is characterized not by the inculcation of curricular content, but by the cultivation of personal qualities in students, confidence, self-awareness, and conscientiousness, which constitute the conditions out of which meaningful writing experiences can emerge. The ideal English teacher, therefore, is not only or even primarily a grammar coach, but also something like a motivational speaker, a self-help guru, and a group therapist. This is particularly true at Goodwin College, where introductory English classes frequently provide students with their first exposure to college-level academic writing. The surest way to increase the likelihood that this transition proceeds smoothly is to emphasize a process approach to writing. The nature of a process is that it doesn't start with perfection. Indeed, a true process never achieves perfection. Struggle and even failure are critical to the entire enterprise of process-based writing, a sensibility that welcomes learners to step into the process wherever they may be in their development and focuses on rewarding their progress rather than punishing their shortcomings. One of the terrific things about writing is that it is completely democratic. Everyone has a voice, everyone has a perspective, everyone has a personality. Even the most inarticulate sentence reveals intimations of the unique and fascinating worldview of the writer. Engaging and productive classroom activities and writing assignments are those that take advantage of the power of language to reveal the personal potential of individual writers. Such activities are student-centered in that they rely on eliciting the perspectives of individual students, and they are bridge-building in that they conceptualize writing as a path that brings writers closer to the world, to other people, and even to themselves. I would propose the following 10 sample activities and writing assignments that demonstrate a student-centered and bridge-building approach to writing instruction. This list is just a starting point, and of course, the different lesson plans can be combined and rearranged in interesting ways. These examples are simply presented as suggestions of various forms that a Goodwin approach to writing instruction might take. 1. Collective rubric writing activity. The use of rubrics is widely acknowledged as a valuable assessment practice, especially for writing assignments. English instructors typically write their rubrics on their own, but why not invite students to participate in the process? Open up a table in Word on the smartboard and ask the students to brainstorm rubric criteria. Not only does this activity encourage students to think actively about the characteristics of good writing, but it guides them through the steps of professional document design. 2. Peer interview and report assignment. This activity constitutes a fun twist on the typical practice of having students introduce themselves on the first day of class. Instead of having them introduce themselves, ask them to partner up with another student to conduct a brief interview. You may consider prefacing this activity with a brief brainstorming session in which the class generates interesting interview questions. Students can use the information from their interview to present their partner to the class, and they can go on to develop their interview notes into a biographical essay. 3. One-on-one conferencing. Some sort of one-to-one teacher-student interaction should be part of every process-oriented writing classroom. Whether you arrange to conduct these one-on-one conferences toward the beginning of class, toward the end of class, or both, or whether you conduct them face-to-face or online, or whether you set aside a block of time for such conferences or conduct them here and there throughout the semester, a one-to-one conference allows you to build a personal relationship with your students as individuals, as well as allowing you to provide them with personalized feedback about their performance in class. 4. In situ grammar lessons. As we all know, nothing is more likely to put students to sleep than a conventionally conducted grammar lesson. That said, teaching the mechanics of writing is an important part of writing instruction. A useful strategy for negotiating this dilemma is to embed grammar lessons in particular writing situations that occur over the course of more holistic classroom activities. Use grammar mistakes in student writing or in-class activities as teachable moments. Sentences exemplifying certain points of grammar or punctuation can be excerpted from student work and anonymously presented as starting points for targeted lessons. You may be able to imagine other ways that grammar lessons can be integrated into higher-level composition instruction. 5. Student-led mini-lessons. Another spin on the embedded grammar mini-lessons is to assign individual students or groups of students to conduct mini-lessons on particular points of grammar, fragments, commas, problematic homophones, etc., or other specific pieces of curricular content. This strategy puts students in charge of collecting and communicating the relevant information, and it reinforces the idea that the class is a community of learners. 6. A teacher-led writing activity. If you are an English teacher, chances are that you are a fairly confident and accomplished writer yourself. The best way to share this experience with your students is to actually walk them through your own process of plotting out ideas, forming sentences, and stringing them together. What is tonight's assignment? Pull up a blank document on the smartboard and walk your students through how you would write the assignment if you were a student in the class. Talk to them about how you would come up with an idea, how you would sketch out an outline, and how you would start putting together individual sentences. Along the way, you can solicit student feedback and suggestions, or even assign individual students to write particular sentences. This is a terrific way to invite students into the mindset of an active writer. 7. Letter writing campaign. Show students the social power of writing by encouraging them to write letters or emails to politicians, academics, celebrities, authors, or other public figures. You may be surprised yourself to discover how possible it is to receive a personalized reply from a researcher or journalist whose writing you have read in the class. Assign students to write letters inviting local politicians, activists, or university faculty to visit your classroom, or, in the case of non-local figures, to arrange a Skype session with your class, which is also possible to do with the smartboard. It is also surprising how easy it can be to get student letters published in letters to the editor columns of local newspapers. 8. Campus-based research projects. One of the wonderful things about the power of writing is that promising writing subjects are all around us all the time. In a close-knit community like Goodwin College, there are stories around every corner. Student clubs, staff and faculty, campus events, and other institutional subjects present so many topics for active research and essay writing. If you can work with your students to develop these topics into pieces of writing, moreover, there are a number of campus-based publications which may consider publishing your students' essays. 9. Team-based evidence-gathering activity. Are you asking students to develop an argument? Consider dividing the class into 3-person teams and assign each team a particular thesis to support. Once they are assigned a particular thesis, the team has to comb through a given text for evidence to support the thesis, or simply brainstorm conceivable argumentative strategies. After the teams have worked for 20 minutes or so, reconvene as a whole class to have the teams present their argumentative strategies. This activity may also open up into a friendly debate between teams with opposing theses. 10. Internet-based assignments. Blogging sites such as Blogspot and WordPress are user-friendly and accessible tools that allow students to share their writing with the rest of the class and with the world at large. Setting up a Facebook page for your class can also be a way of increasing interactivity and student involvement, especially in between the times when class is actually in session. Asking students to compose and send emails to you, which you can then open up on the smartboard to discuss as a class, is another way of using social media to demonstrate the power of the written word in a connected world. As I mentioned before, these 10 suggestions are just a starting point. Writing teachers tend to develop their own personalized toolbox of assignments and strategies, but there are always new techniques to test out, tinker with, and adapt to your own purposes and teaching style. I look forward to hearing some of your own student-centered and bridge-building lesson plans on this week's discussion board.